Hey everyone, Pupsker here. Today in Warframe, we're going to go over the top 10 secondary weapons for the past handful of years in Warframe. All in all, this isn't the strongest 10 weapons, no, it's definitely the most used, most popular 10 weapons in the past handful of years. So let me know what you think. If you agree, disagree, doesn't really matter. These are just stats given by DE, of course, so let me know. Sub, like, use Epic Game Store, creator code Pupsker, check out Twitch, any of that if you ever want to support the channel. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so starting off in 10th place, we have the Axomati Primes. So I believe reason these are popular is because, that's right, they have a high crit multiplier, overall good enough crit chance, and good enough status chance. So I think these were just used because they're a pretty decent prime to get. It's strong and you can use it with high crit and get a lot of damage in. So it's not too surprising that a lot of people use this gun, but I'm surprised it made number 10. But as you can see, if you just throw on a Prime Target Cracker with Hornet Strike and Galvanized Diffusion, your crit multiplier will be huge. If you have more space, right, you'd obviously want to throw on more crit, more damage, but this is what I'll just try out quickly, see how it goes. The damage isn't going to be insane. I don't have any mods on it. I don't use a ton of secondaries, so let's just shoot at a Corrupted Bomber to see how it works. Now, this gun is a very simple gun. It just shoots, right? It ramps up the attack speed because it works the same as the Soma Prime. So this was popular because it was easier to get in the game, fast prime to get, and people like the high fire rate and good damage of it because, again, that crit chance is insane. If you have more than 3 mods on it when you get a full proper build, it's really freaking good, and you definitely shouldn't like hate on it at all because it's top 10 for a reason, right? But my mods just aren't great and I only have 3, so you just gotta wait a second or two for it to ramp up. He has health, so he's gonna die a lot faster. But as you can see, the damage and the fire rate just go burr. If you have some mods on it, everything will die. So that's why the Axomati Prime is a top 10. Not anything too surprising, easy to get, good damage. It's the same with the next secondary weapon. Now the next secondary weapon is the Lex Prime. But I don't have that because I have the Ak Lex Prime. This is simply just 2 Lex Primes, but the generals work about the same, just shooting it off. The reason the Lex Prime is the number 9 most used secondary is because it's so freaking easy to get. It's the easiest secondary by far, without a doubt. The general stats on the Ak Lex Prime, probably I think a little better, if not just like the ammo's a little better than the Lex Prime, but it's a pretty basic weapon with decent enough crit and status, but it should get the job done. And it's just easy for people early game to get, and that's why it's number 9. But it's just a normal secondary, so if you equipped it, you can see the damage, not bad at all. Throw on some actual mods, have a good build going against enemies, it does decent enough damage, right? So that's generally why it's so popular and clocking in at number 9. It's because the Lex Prime is high damage, and it'll kill things early on, with it being such an easy early prime to get. So, makes sense. Low MR prime, early, easy to get, and does damage. A lot of the secondary weapons are pretty basic overall, so there's honestly not much to talk about them. So, hey, let's get on to number 8. Number 8 most popular secondary is actually a kit gun using the Spore Lancer chamber. This is the most popular in number 8 secondary weapon. I find it hilarious because I don't really use kit guns that much, but you can get kit guns on Cetus, so it's kind of like the first open world you get. So it's actually not too surprising. The stats can differ a lot on kit guns because of the combination of items you use. Well, combination of parts, I should say. This one itself is a Spore Lancer Bellows Gibber, but you could always have different setups. It's good because it does inherent, I think it's toxin damage, so it's just strong overall, and you kind of like can't go wrong there, so that's why a lot of people use it, and it shouldn't be too much of a shock. If you just YOLO on some gas here and like electricity, and we'll just take it out for a quick spin, you'll see the damage on it is not too bad. When I actually use the Spore Lancer, look at that. You just have to shoot out, and it does AoE explosive toxic damage. That is why it's so popular. It's because it's an AoE explosive one. Now, when you have proper mods on it, actual elements, and real damage, it'll actually kill the enemies, surprisingly. But when you use it like this with my non like good build setup, whatever, it'll just inflict status everywhere. But let me know what you think of the Spore Lancer. Even with my like trash setup, it's a pretty good weapon once you throw some good mods on there, and it should get a lot of like AoE kills, so it's definitely not a bad weapon. And it makes sense why the Spore Lancer is used a lot as like number 8 most used secondary, so yeah. The next weapon, clocking in at number 7 in the top 10 list, is the Dex Furus. I actually believe this is so popular because it's given out free so many times throughout the years in Warframe, and that is literally it. Only frickin' reason, I swear to God. It has decent enough damage, I guess. It's pretty low. 16 base, higher status, but the crit's overall low. It has inherent... Does it have inherent anything, actually? Let me take a look. No, it's just high puncture with some slash and impact, so... Overall, this is kind of a bad weapon, right? The damage isn't everything, and it's just kind of there. This, I swear to God, is clocking in at number 7 just because people got it for free so many times. It's good overall, though, in the fact that it shoots fast. So it's not like the damage is, like, bad. It's just like, yeah, it could be better. But with a simple build, at least the damage isn't terrible. My other weapons had like more mod slot capacity, it'd probably be a little higher too, but with a basic build, I have Sure Shot on. Why? Anyways, it does enough damage, so hey, it makes sense. People got it for free a lot, and it's strong enough to actually be able to kill things pretty competently in the world of Warframe, so hey, number 7 is Dex Furus, and kind of makes sense. So let me know what you think about that. Number 6 top secondary weapon is the Icarius. Reason being is simple. This is Gauss's secondary, his primary is really popular, and it is an explosive weapon. So it does good damage, and that means people like it. The base damage on it, I think it counts as a secondary... No, it should be like a pistol, I think, but it's more of a status one than a shotgun, like high crit one. Words are coming out and they're not making sense, but that's okay. So you'll definitely want to build it for that like radial attack. As you can see, I haven't used it at all, not at all, but it's really high damage radial. So you'll want to build status and damage for that. And that's why it's so popular. It's pretty much a mini Exceltra, but as a secondary, which is just high damage and AoE. Difference is Exceltra's crit, and this one's more status, so they swap that there. This is how it shoots. It just shoots in a 2-round burst of AoE explosives. So it's really strong once you actually mod it and build it. I don't have any mods, and I should probably also mention, yeah, it's tracking to the enemies. So you don't even have to care, and you can just run around and shoot. As long as you have ammo for it, it'll track the enemies and it'll hit them. So it makes a lot of sense why it's so popular. I can just shoot it over there. It does have a limit though, of course, and it'll just go and try and hit some enemies. So it's a really interesting weapon, and that makes it very popular, very good, very useful. So I would actually recommend this one because it's just so freaking useful. In number 5, we have the one and only Tenet Cycron. This is not too surprising either. It's a beam weapon, and it does a lot of damage. What more do you need? And it's a Tenet weapon, so it has an inherent element, right? So if we look right here, it's not too surprising that it has a really high status. That's why it's really nice. Crit's okay and good enough, so not too bad. Then the damage could be lower, could be higher, but overall it's not too high. So it's clearly built as a high status weapon with some splash of crit, meant to just melt enemies with whatever stats you're trying to use. So I have Radiation Viral here and this decent enough build, and that means it will kill everyone. You'll see why though, you'll see why. It's the branching paths that just do really well. I want to see it, yeah, it says hitting up to 2 additional nearby targets. So that's why it tends to go well. When you have beam weapons that branch off and hit other enemies, it just does really, really well. So you see, oh no, that's the catch moon. You see, it just like branches off, hits a bunch of other enemies, and since I have a lot of multi-shot on it, it'll do even more damage. Now, I have viral radiation on this, so it's not like the damage numbers are going to be the best for these types of enemies. But in regular Warframe gameplay, it would confuse enemies, they'll start attacking each other, and then chaos in the streets. So that's why it's just such a popular weapon. You can see it just melt the enemies, and then once I start getting kills buffing up my arcanes and my like galvanized mods, it does like way more damage. And now I can kill everything pretty quickly, right? So you always have to ramp up the mods now because galvanized and arcanes, but once you spawn up the enemies, this weapon will just take them out, no problem. Oh, you gotta love it. Any type of branching beam weapon is ridiculously good once you get that multi-shot, because then you get even more branching beams and it does even more damage. So I would definitely recommend using the Tenet Cycron. It was one of my most used for the year, so I definitely understand. 10 out of 10 would recommend. So the top 4 secondary weapon is actually another kit gun, but I don't have the kit gun. So instead of a Spore Lancer, the top 4 secondary is a Catch Moon kit gun. I actually have a primary Catch Moon. So we're going to take a look at this instead, just to see how it generally fires. Now the reason this is popular, I just think it's because it's inherent heat and it's a good type of weapon. I don't know if it's a beam weapon fully, or like a energy weapon, sorry, but it's good overall. We'll just take a look to see how it fires. My build on the Catch Moon is nothing at all that matters because, oh no, I used it once to level it and then never touched it again. So it's definitely not the strongest thing I have, but hey, it is what it is. Let me just throw on some mods so you can get a general idea of how a Catch Moon shoots. And then from there, maybe you'll like it, maybe you'll hate it. This is how it shoots. It's like a weird pseudo beam weapon. Well, it's like an energy weapon, but it is strong once it's fully built up and you have some mods on it. But with what I'm currently running, it'll be absolutely worthless. So if you like how the Catch Moon shoots, hey, you actually might like it. If not, then you might not like it. So yeah, that is what it is. For top 3, we have the weapon Epitaph. This is a pretty sweet weapon with a cool shtick. Sevgoth's wrist-mounted sidearm fires a chilling slow-moving slab, guaranteed to slow enemies for easier marksmanship. But charge the shot to fire a punishing high-velocity, high-critical chance slab that punches through barriers. Deals additional headshot damage in Sevgoth's hand, right? So this shit's just so ridiculously strong that it just goes through everything, right? Just 10 out of 10. This shit is so good that even with this dog build that I did quickly on it, like dog meme build, is actually pretty decent. As you can see without mods, the base damage is 100 with like decent enough status and no crit, but that's just the quick shot. Now, the charged shot is where the real damage comes in because it actually does a ton of crit chance and a good enough high crit multiplier. Like, there could be higher, but 2.6 is still really useful. So even with a bad build like this, wouldn't use this at all. 0 out of 10, would not recommend. You'll still get a ton of damage off. So we'll quickly take a look at the Epitaph. The first shot, right, the quick one, that's the just like little quick AoE shot. This is good for like lower levels. You just need to quickly kill some stuff off. I think I was quickly building for this so I could just shoot off Epitaph non-stop. Or you charge it for one big blast that goes through, does high crit damage, etc., etc. So we see they're good, right? Look at that. Use that to like spread status overall, not too shabby, but the damage isn't quite there, and my mod build is bad. But these are high level enemies, and I was using this on low level enemies. But if you charge it, you'll see, oh my god, it's blasting through them, hitting through all those enemies right there. You hit a nice amount of headshots, get some good kills. So have an actually strong, competent build on, and you could have a good gun where you jump between doing general AoE status and then charge shots for quick high damage kills, headshots. And again, it does more headshot damage in Sevgoth's hands because it's his signature weapon. But yeah, with my build like that, it's not going to do a ton of damage. But if you do properly build it, you should be able to get a lot of damage off. So hey, not too shabby. In number 2, we have Piranha Prime. No shock if you know what the shtick of this gun is. 3 kills in rapid succession to summon a second ethereal piranha for twice the deadly punch. That's right. This gun spawns up a second one, and then it becomes a dual-wielded secondary. My build, overall, nothing too special. Meant to do some damage, quickly get some kills off, and it's, you know, could be better, but that's okay. It has, overall, good enough crit, low status, but that's fine, and high damage at 240. So with like a general viral slash build, hey, it could work pretty well. You could throw on a lot of other stuff, something like hemorrhage, I don't know. Does it have high impact? It doesn't have super high impact. Never mind. It has inherent slash, so it's already good there, right? Not too shabby. I want to just take it out, and we'll see how well it works. Against the corrupted bombards, I want to get some quick, fast kills, so it shoots really well, and then you get a second one, right? So then you see, you have to reload both of them. So, I don't know if you can tell, but it's really good and shoots as if it was a primary. And that is why it's so popular. You spawn up another one. If you have proper galvanized mods and arcanes on it, it will just wreak havoc. So overall, it's a pretty good weapon, and I would recommend it. But you might need to get some builds together for it, so that's not too surprising. Overall, 10 out of 10, it deserves the second most used spot. It's just kind of surprising. I didn't know that the Piranha Prime was this popular, just like a random prime gun, just because it's like a secondary that operates as if it was a primary. So it's a really good gun, would recommend. 10 out of 10, and it'll do a lot of damage. Last, but certainly not least, we have the Kuva Nucor, a highly optimized Nucor that allows for the weapon's microwave field to hit up to 2 additional targets. That's right, you know the Tenet Cyclone we showed off earlier? It's essentially that, but better. It's the same freaking weapon, but better. It has more ammo, and it does essentially more damage. So that's just magnificent. As we can see here, the overall damage, still low, right? Like 27.5, but the status is freaking insane. The crit chance is really low, but the crit multiplier is insanely high. So it can actually still work if you want to throw on crit, but you just don't need to. I have my general whatever build here, and I still bother to throw on crit just because whenever you do hit those 10 times crit multipliers, it's great. But again, just like the Tenet Cyclone, with a lot of multi-shot, you'll get a lot of branching beams, and it'll do a ton of damage. So I like to still build it with crit and then go, you know, regular status from there. And you can throw on literally whatever status you want, doesn't even matter. With this being a Kuva weapon, you can get some crazy different types of elements on it. I might have just like some crappy one. I can't really remember. Maybe it's just the impact. Maybe it's not. But hey, this is what I'm running, and it does really well, even for a non-perfect build. So if I want to spawn up more corrupted bombards, right? And then you just radiation beam. The difference between this and the Cyclone is it has like a weird sort of beam that just kind of chases around there. If I just keep hitting people, they'll die, my damage will build up. It also kind of makes them bigger, so it's easier for enemies to hit them. So you can see as I'm Kuva Nucoring these dudes, they're growing. They're getting like thick and chonky. It's just a status, an effect of the Kuva Nucor. But yeah, my build's not perfect, and again, it's not made for corrupted. It has a radiation on it, so it's not like it's gonna perform optimally in the simulacrum where enemies can't mess around and shoot each other. But after you build up some damage, that's right, it'll just wreck house. So it's a fun, cool weapon to use, and it takes the #1 spot because you can get it so insanely strong if you get a good inherent element on it, and then if you build it with some crit and status, it'll just easily kill everyone. So hey, that is the top 10 list for secondary weapons in Warframe. This will definitely be changed up a lot when the updated list comes out, so don't be too surprised, okay? But this was before 2022, the strongest setup for a secondary weapon. So it's still really good, and everyone should definitely use it. So thank you. Appreciate everyone watching, subbing, liking. As always, check out any of the socials, Twitch, Twitter. You can subscribe, donate, and check out anything if you want to support the channel. I got Epic Game Store creator code Pupsker, so if you want to spend some money, best just buy a game you want to buy, right? Thank you all. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.